Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. An exciting week for a whole lot of people. First of all, I want to shout out Bun B and Static Selecta. They did a collaborative project in 11 or 12 hours.
A full album.
A full album. It's called Trill Static, exclusively available on Tidal right now. And I was lucky enough to be there. Mm-hmm. You were invited.
I was invited. I was not able to be there.
You were under the weather. And I went down to Brooklyn. I represented for both of us. And I got to watch Fat Joe and Method Man and Michi Darko and Smoke DZA and
a bunch of people.
A whole bunch of people
Graph.
there. It was a great West Side Gun, a great collection, a great energy, CJ Fly. It was...
Well, you were able to watch it. I was able to watch you watch it because I was watching on the live stream.
You did, and you sent me
I sent you a screenshot of you standing behind the door.
This is true. I was behind the door because I didn't want to get kicked out. I thought, I've never met Fat Joe. I don't want him to, be offended by, a dude who's just watching him write this amazing verse. But you know what? He did not kick me out. He was super nice.
Well, did he know that you were there?
He did know I was there. He asked me, like a thesaurus, which word he should use instead of wall. And I was like, drywall. And then I felt like an idiot because it rhymes. So in any event...
I mean, it's not a wrong answer.
It's the wrong answer for that situation.
Well, yeah, event, I mean, he did ask for a better word.
Go listen. That song is called
a worse word.
Basquiat, Bun B, Smoke DZA, and Fat Joe. Produced by Static Selecta. I believe it's going into rotation now. So shout out to everyone involved in that. Freaky Yayo and Rock Nation and Tidal and everybody over there. Mm-hmm. But super important to us this week was the fact that we did our 250th episode with...
Our mom.
Our mom. Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Mom. That episode is, it could have gone any number of ways in terms of the reaction. Our mom's story is not like anybody else's that we've had on our podcast. We have not had many non-industry moms.
Okay.
Moms who birthed us on this podcast.
That is true.
And so we had her on, and her story is incredible, as we know. But well,
yeah, I was.
It's interesting that so many other people have identified with her story.
I agree with that. I was confident that people would be taken by her story. I think it's very compelling. I think she's a good storyteller, and we were just honored to bring her story out there and let people know. Listen, she's been through a lot, and we've seen that. We've been there for some of it. And
yeah, you more than me.
And well, yeah, and her more than us.
Yeah.
And we always found it to be just a really, really strong story, ups and downs and bounce backs and the whole thing. And it was beautiful to, like we do for so many other people, take that story, put it into context, and put it out there to the world so that it was received, like you said, by the whole world was pretty special to us. And she was able to send it to friends and family and talk about it at Passover. And it's a real point of pride for her. Mm-hmm. And I think that she really enjoyed our time on the mic together and then listening to it once again. But Jeff.
Yes.
Today.
I'm still here.
Today. We have our friend Dela Yador on the podcast. And listen, he's lived a great life, and we've talked about a lot of things that you're going to hear in just a few seconds. But most important, something we didn't talk about on the podcast.
He's not related to us.
Something I admire Dela for so much is the fact that he saw the premiere of Game of Thrones at Radio City Music Hall about 2 weeks before it hit HBO, and he didn't say a damn thing about it.
To anybody.
I just love the fact that he... and Raven and Vic and Jamal and all the people who were there, no one said a thing, and we were all able to enjoy it on our own, at our own time, our own speed, with no spoilers. But should you guys like Game of Thrones just as much as us, and you want to hear our thoughts on Game of Thrones, here's what you should do. Subscribe to Two Jews and Two Black Dudes Review the Movies, because...
there's a plan for us to, and the Locks... to record weekly episodes about Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So Sheik is into it. Mm-hmm. Styles is into it. Mm-hmm. Jadakiss has never seen an episode, which, by the way...
is even better.
Makes it wonderful. We're all going to sit down in the studio. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones. And the only way that you guys can listen to it and other movie reviews that we've done, Green Book and You've Got Mail and Coco and Black Panther and Trading Places and Home Alone and all these other movies, right? The only way that you can hear that right now is to go on Spotify or iTunes or Google Play or wherever and search for Two Jews and Two Black Dudes Review the Movies. It has its own feed. So if you come here and you expect to hear that podcast amongst all of these a waste of time with It's the Real podcasts,
You're shit out of luck.
not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Jeff, today on the podcast.
Today on the podcast, we have Dela Yador, our great friend who we've known for about 12 years, starting when he was at VH1. Then he became a marketing executive over at different liquors like Martell and Hennessy. And now he is doing his own thing. He's a cultural connector.
He is. He's a fascinating guy, and I was really glad that we got to hear his stories about bringing people like Snoop or Kanye or the heavy hitters and El Boogs and Kast One and everybody up to Buffalo as a party promoter. I'm glad to hear like the details about how he was involved early on in HennyPalooza, how he supported all those guys through 5 years and really tried to connect Hennessy and Palooza together, why it didn't work out, and how happy he is that the Douce deal came around and provided a super big platform for all those guys from Kam to Rory to Benner to Lowe to Chris Styles to Raven to Peach and Niles and Chris Fox and everybody involved in that whole camp. And Dela's just a great guy with a great perspective. And I think in today's day and age, when you have so many people who are just very
Shitty?
false, right?
Sure.
He is a sense of truth, and it's very welcome, and I'm glad that we got to hear his story today. Jeff, when do you want to get into it?
Well, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna do this part a few minutes later.
Okay.
Because Dela always shows up late.
Okay. Jeff, when do you want to get into it?
Right now.
Yo, what up? It's Eric, a.k.a. Out of Pocket, a.k.a. Gangrene.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, a.k.a. Tear the roof off this motherfucker, a.k.a. the Notre Dame Dada.
Yo, what up? It's Dela, aka Everything's Fine, aka I'm happy to be here.
Yes, it's your favorite podcast to waste time with the real. Dela, what's happening?
What is good?
Yo, it's great to finally have you up here. Listen, a lot of people have been asking for this episode, so here you are. And you know what? I thought this morning, Dela gets a bad rep. So I thought to myself, everyone just kills Dela for being late. There's this long-running joke around all of our friends that Dela can never be somewhere on time. I said, you know what? I hit Dela yesterday. I said 2 p.m., right? See you there. Looking forward to it. Dela came back with like exclamation points. He's all set. See you tomorrow.
1:53. He says, I'm a few minutes away.
Yeah, I'll be there soon.
Yeah.
This is good energy right here. Let's keep it going. My Uber driver apologized for being late today, and I can't translate that.
So you were late?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Outing yourself. Everything's fine.
Do you think it's a sort of outlandish reputation you have?
I'm usually late to parties.
Okay.
And I feel like that is not a bad thing.
Fashionably late.
Fashion is in the eye of the beholder, right? To parties.
Yeah.
But I think it's an interesting rep to have.
Okay.
It brings some character out of the timing.
Sure, yeah. When you show up at 2:35, it's what is time anyway?
Yeah. That's more like
it's a construct of our imagination.
Exactly.
Do you show up to work on time?
For the most part, yeah. I would say so. Meetings on time. I've never missed a flight, which is important.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
No one believes that, but ask American
on the record
Airlines.
today.
On the record, it's a fact.
You're not like diamond status where you can tell a plane to hold on.
I don't have that Drake energy where I could just, tell them to hold it off. But I'm pretty good on time.
Well, we appreciate you showing up whenever you showed up here.
Appreciate you guys having me.
No doubt.
This has been, no one's asked for this, by the way.
No, that is not true. That is not true. No, people really do want you up here. People want to know, what is Dela all about? And we're going to find that out today.
And what is he doing when he's running behind on time?
Oh, man, that's it. Let's get into it. I'm into it.
Dela, where are you originally from?
I'm from the Bronx.
Where in the Bronx?
180th and Tremont, Van Ness, Morris Park.
Big family, small family?
Bigger family. Family's from West Africa, Ghana. Mom got here in 82. Dad was 79. I was born in 83. 5 sisters.
Older, younger, where are they?
I am 4th, so I have 3 older and 2 younger.
Wow.
The youngest being 29. She lives in LA.
A lot of female energy right there.
A lot of female energy. Taught me a lot about patience.
Yeah.
Probably why I'm late.
Yeah. They take care of you growing up?
They did. I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot from them culturally, and not just from the African standpoint, but my older sisters used to watch Video Music Box, Channel 25, Blurry, hang her out the TV in the Bronx. So they wouldn't let me watch it because I was too young, but I never go to my room. So they just stay here, just shush, don't say anything.
They have any names for you?
I mean, they have their accent. Dela is like, you'll hear that.
Yeah.
When the accent's thicker when they're mad, so it adds up. Yeah.
How many rooms were in the apartment?
In the Bronx, it was 3 bedroom, first floor. Actually, it's 2 bedroom. I lived on the first floor in the Bronx. Then we moved to the 8th floor and we had 3 bedrooms.
So who were you sharing a room with when you were growing up?
I had my own room, which is dope. So my 2 sisters, the one above me and below me were my half sisters. So they were in Houston. But it was 3 bedrooms and my 2 sisters shared one. I had one, and then my little sister was born later on and moved to the 3 bedroom, and she had her own too.
Wow. Yeah. So you like lucked out by being the only guy.
Boy, did I. I mean, we had 2 bathrooms when we moved to the 8th floor, which is great because women take really long in the bathroom. Getting ready and all that, so it worked out.
What'd your folks do?
My dad was a chef at a correctional facility, Edgecombe Correctional Facility in Harlem, and my mom was a registered nurse.
Wow.
Dialysis nurse. She always tells a story about how she was afraid of the sight of blood, and she's a dialysis nurse. She's retired now, but kind of amazing.
And what was growing up in the Bronx like for you?
It was interesting, man. I love the Bronx. I'm in Brooklyn now. I went to Catholic Elementary School, St. Anthony's, which is, since closed down a while ago. Then I went to Lehman High School in the Bronx. My friends on the block were who I spent a lot of time with on the weekends, especially basketball. We had a swimming pool in the building. We'd all ride bikes to Pelham Bay Park. We were just like thick as thieves, you know what I mean? But high school, I would also say, was probably like the best time, one of the best times of my life.
Yeah. Well, what was that Catholic upbringing like?
Church every Sunday. I was actually an altar boy for a little while.
Wow.
Which is interesting, and some of my closest friends were altar boys too. Some of them went off to the service, like the Navy and the Marines, and it was just cool coming up because we also played basketball. So some of the people I went to school with lived in the same building as me. And then we'd all hang out with the people that didn't go to school with us, and we'd all come together. It was kind of dope. And it was like Dominican, Puerto Rican, Irish, Italian, a little bit of Italian, at least from the school standpoint. From the neighborhood, it's a little different. But it was a pretty diverse neighborhood growing up around 180th. So it's Van Ness, but it's like right across from Bronx River. Mm-hmm. But then it's like a 5-minute walk from Parkchester. So it's sort of central. 15 minutes to Soundview.
Well, yeah. Did you stay in the Bronx, or did you like jump on a train and travel into Manhattan, or go to Brooklyn, or?
I would say towards high school, middle of high school, me and my friends from the block would go to like Times Square and hang out.
Yeah. Dope.
Yeah. Like just see the lights and.
But it's a different Times Square than what it is now, I guess.
It's big different. It's like that was like. I don't know if many people. It was a different energy in Times Square way back then. Yeah.
Did you get your driver's license at 16?
I did get it at 16. Did we talk about this?
No.
I got my junior license in high school, which was kind of cool. You get it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. I was driving my mom's burgundy Corolla around, which is dope. I had the tape deck adapter to the CD player.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was I just remember that those were mixtape days.
Yeah. What were you listening to?
I mean, that was. I remember in '98 going to Parkchester to get my "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot" CD signed by DMX.
Whoa!
Right by the movie theater. It was called New American Movie Theater. Ironically, the same movie theater where Sporty Thieves shot No Pigeons.
Whoa!
There's a scene in the red car where the girls are walking around, and that's right in front of.
And you're like, yo,
It's kind of. I haven't really talked much about that, but it's kind of dope just flashing back on it.
So you waited to go see DMX to have him sign?
I left school early, signed the album cover, the actual album.
Did he sign it to you?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
That's dope.
Wow. I still have it at home.
Yeah.
So I actually have a couple of random objects signed. Like, so where I lived on 180th in Tremont, Noble Mansions, what they call it. What's the name of the building?
Yeah.
St. Lawrence Avenue is where my mom ended up moving to after we lived in Soundview and moved back. I lived at 1503 St. Lawrence. Big Pun lived at 1509.
Wow.
And he would always park his Cherry F-150 outside.
Wow.
So I remember, like, my little sister used to hang out, play with the kids, like, Baby, and like they used to hang out like right in front. And again, it's still starstruck because it's Pun, right?
Yeah.
And I remember he's playing cards one day. I was like, all right, let me get his autograph because they're there. Sometimes they're not running around.
Sure.
And I got a little, I think it's like a playing card, like a 2 of diamonds signed by Big Pun, and I have it at home.
That's awesome.
Which is, I keep that kind of close.
What was the significance of the 2 of diamonds?
Don't know. I think that was the only card that you could find like that was around him at the time, and he just signed that, and I just took it. 2 of diamonds is a pretty high card in spades, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
It helps.
Also, shouts to Pun for actually like living what he says in his rhymes, driving that cherry red 150.
Oh, it was outside in front of the crib all the time, which is pretty cool.
That's super dope. That was his time, by the way.
That was his time.
Yeah.
Fact.
Did you have a Bronx pride?
Yeah, 100%. Because anytime you argue with someone who's not from the Bronx, they'll say, well, we got Jay, we got Nas. And my argument was like, well, we started hip hop.
Yeah.
And immediately you think that should end the argument.
Sure.
But no, it's not enough. But yeah, I got a lot of Bronx pride. Even being in Brooklyn, I still absolutely rep the Bronx.
Lord Tariq and Peter Guns, thoughts?
Yeah, man, Uptown, which is, again, ironic. Around the corner, I believe Peter Guns and Lord Tariq have family like on like Beach Avenue a while ago, and they had signed their record as well. Like, I was a stickler for like memorabilia and whatnot. But yeah, like that Uptown baby, I just remember the video in Wyclef and Yankee Stadium.
Hell
like,
yeah.
That was important. That was
Totally
super important. Representation is important.
What was your first job?
Man, my first job, I actually worked at the church rectory. I like answered phones and which was pretty cool. My second job right after that, when I was in high school, was coaching the St. Anthony's basketball team.
No kidding.
It was like a 7th, 8th grade team, which was like super interesting. I've had a lot of jobs. I worked for Parks and Recreation right before I went to Buffalo for school, which is a really good paying job, believe it or not. But it was like waking up at 6:30 a.m., being there by 7, weed whacking, driving the garbage truck. And it was summertime, so you kind of had to pick up all the garbage after people were barbecuing on a Sunday, and it was Monday through Friday.
Is it weird for you to see like brands take the Parks and Rec logo and make that like a hot item now?
It's kind of fire, yo. It's kind of like...
Yeah, but you had that before. It was like
I had the jumpsuit. Like, I need to show up at a party with the jumpsuit and the green mask to protect me from the weeds and just stunt on
and
everybody.
A weed whacker. Yeah,
and
yeah,
a weed whacker. Weed whacker might be aggressive, but they did the picture. Maybe it's a Halloween fit.
I don't know if you could get a weed whacker through security.
Friends.
Depends which party. Yeah.
Facts.
So when you decided to, help coach 7th and 8th graders, are you a leader? Like, do you see the leadership capabilities at that point?
Well, yeah, sort of, because I wasn't in their shoes that long ago. So there's a relatability, which I think is important for any
You're a
type
player's
of
coach.
leadership.
I got you. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, you try to be, right? And you also try to see the potential in kids because you have your better players, and then you have the players that are trying to be better, and you want to give them the attention that they need so that they can grow and build. But you start to win the game. We weren't very good.
Okay.
All right, let me just throw that out there.
E for effort.
E for effort, yeah.
Is that what you would tell the kids like in the locker room?
Or E for effort?
No, like you would have like the whiteboard and you'd be like, listen, you're not very good.
That is soul crushing. I'd be like, listen, even if we lose, you know what? You don't start a pep talk with even if you lose. You start with the highs, right?
Yeah.
Let's go out there. Let's give it our best. Blah blah blah. At halftime, when you're down by 30, listen, we're doing some things really well. This is what we can do better. But let's get it right. We can do it. We practice this. Let's go. Then when you lose by 40, it's like even though we lost, we put forward our best effort and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Blah. And this is while I was still in high school. Me myself trying to play basketball in school, in high school as well.
My best friend, Greg Mayo.
Yeah.
He was in the state championships baseball. And the coach, when they were losing in like the 3rd inning by like 2 runs, was like, "This is a shitty way to go out, fellas."
So you threw in the towel early.
Oh, yeah.
Big early.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I don't do that. There's always a chance. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's what I think.
So in a house full of mostly older sisters.
Who ended up going away to college too.
Yeah.
So when I was going into high school, they were already getting ready to go. My older sister went to Dartmouth. My next sister went to Williams College in Massachusetts. So they were getting to it.
Yeah. So big expectations?
Kinda. I think growing up in a traditional African household, there's a little bit of the be a lawyer, be a doctor. Because that's what they know.
Sure.
Like, work really hard. But I think as I started to get older, I think my parents started to get a little bit looser in expectations, which I thought was pretty cool. I think they started to see the world and see how they were raising us and trust in what they were teaching us. And
So that comes from you being the fourth child, you think?
I was the only boy, so
So they had no expectations.
zero, like at none, on the floor. Yeah. No, I think that it was really it was let it play out. Like, I went to Catholic school, then I ended up going to public high school, which is Lehman, like I mentioned, and that was a really good balance for me.
Well, was that a big transition going from Catholic to public?
From uniform to having to
Where academics,
parasucos, Paco, Pele. Yeah, it was just kind of dope. I mean, we were all like young, running around, and you just find your cliques. And I think high school is pretty cliquey. You have the athletes, the cheerleaders, the really smart kids. But somehow, some way in high school, I feel like they all kind of were around each other. Like, there wasn't a lot of exclusionary. Like in Lehman, there's the terrace where a lot of people, if you cut class, you just hung. Lehman was one of the only schools that let you go outside for lunch. So there was like McDonald's, Burger King, there's Westchester Square.
It's a little freedom.
It's a little bit of freedom, which is dope. There was some gang activity too.
Tell us about that, Dela. Tell us about your gang activity.
I was not in a gang. But yeah, I mean, I think there's this...
what colors were you wearing?
Are you Vlad? What is this?
Listen, listen.
You didn't ask that to Mom.
Which was a fantastic interview.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
She's good.
Yeah.
There was like a war between the ABIs and like the Bloods, like Albanians and Bloods. I remember that. And it was like Lehman High School, and then it was Columbus, which was my initial zone school. At that time they zoned you out into schools, but I ended up getting into Lehman. Shouts to Mr. Leader, who passed away last year or a couple months ago. But everybody was like, for the most part, cool. Like, people were like territorial, but they weren't like, it wasn't what's depicted on screen.
Right.
Again, I don't know all the inner workings of it, but I had friends on all sides, and it was what it was.
What were you like in high school? Personable? Were you like outgoing?
I was pretty outgoing. I used to fight a little bit in high school. I think kids are super creative. Whoever came up with the insult African booty scratcher needs some type of recognition.
Wasn't that like an Eddie Murphy thing?
I guess, is it Coming to America? Maybe,
Probably.
I don't know, possibly. I mean, I think kids are like super creative, super young. They don't know the power of their imagination or their words.
Yeah.
And I think coming from like Catholic school into high school, you kind of get that, and it's like, whoa, you're insulting me. Whoa, this feels like... And then, either you joke back or you show them your hands work. Like, there's really no in between, or you just get laughed at. And I remember having to fight like older people, like seniors and juniors at a time. And then when you get a couple of those under your belt, suddenly the jokes stop, and they start to see you like, okay, well, you're not that.
Yeah. And by the way, I should say, I don't think that Eddie Murphy actually came up with it. I bet that was like some racist person back in like, the 1800s.
Right.
The fact that they traveled all these years is impressive in itself, I'll say. But I mean, me in high school, I was connected to everyone. I think I was part of like this leadership team, which like put together smaller events. Like, we had something called the Lehman Olympics, which was kind of cool. Which was like, there was like a pie eating contest. There was basketball. There was other athletic activities, races, and we organized that stuff. I was actually in chorus, believe it or not. I had hoop dreams, and I thought I could play ball. Everyone does.
Sure.
At a certain
Yeah.
point. And I remember being like in the NCAA office filing papers to try to be eligible. And this guy walks in, and he goes, "Oh, you have a very nice voice," and I'm immediately freaked out. Like,
sure,
whatever. I'm like, all right, I don't know you, whatever. So I'm like, thanks. And I go back to talking to the woman. He's like, hey, listen, I teach a chorus class, and he was awesome, cool dude.
Yeah.
I teach a chorus class. You should stop by one of these periods and check it out. So again, at this point, like I'm like a junior. I'm finding my way. I have friends. It's cool. It's all good. So I remember going by the class and walking to the door. It's a long corridor. So where the music section of Lehman is. And I remember like peeking in and I'm like, okay, all right, this class is like a lot of people, 70% female, not a bad thing at all.
Right.
Cool. And I leaned in and the door like pushed open and everybody turned on. The piano's right in front of the door. I'm like, so he goes, hey, come on in. I'm like, I was just stopping. I'm like, no, come in. So I came in and I sat down on the side, didn't know what was going on. I think they were doing a Stevie Wonder tribute it might have been like the spring or the fall concert. And I was just like amazed that you had, the bass, the tenors, like all these people just in harmony, like again, and they're students. So they have work to do, but they also have this other sort of profession or job in the school. And I ended up joining. I ended up switching classes and joining later, and I was a bass, which was super dope.
You had fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
Like, it was cool. It was cool. Like, it was being in court. I never thought about that. And actually, my friends who were like, they'd come and see the shows that we were in, which was like, to have that other type of support was kind of cool.
What other activities were you doing?
So basketball I was involved in, although I think there were a lot better people on the team than I was. So I was like always practicing and part of the team, running with them. I played volleyball.
Wow.
Volleyball I was better in, which was a lot of fun.
How was your serve?
My serve was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was an outside hitter.
Okay.
So I used to jump. I used to get up there, which was cool. The volleyball coach, Ms. Vance, was actually the football coach. And she did not play, but she was really, really good at what she does.
And you thrived in a team setting?
Yeah, it was dope. Like it was one of my best friends, Frank, was the setter on the team. The girls and boys volleyball team were all cool. All the sports teams were pretty cool with each other. They all got the commitment that everybody put into it, which was dope. And I had a good time.
So when you were looking for schools, where were you looking? Were you looking to stay, or were you looking to just get out of town?
I was looking to stay in New York.
Mm-hmm. The state.
New York State, yeah. I remember going to my academic advisor, and she's like, well, you should really go to CUNY. I think that would be best.
CUNY, the City University of New York.
City University of New York, correct. So she's like, yeah, maybe you should stick with CUNY. And I was sort of like, but I kind of want to, go out. Like, I don't know your grades, da-da-da. And I ended up getting into a couple schools, specifically University of Buffalo, SUNY Buffalo.
Yeah.
I actually didn't get into Buff State, which is a smaller school. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go for what I thought I knew how to do, which was radio communications and be on radio. I think that's, like, if it wasn't medical, if it wasn't legal, it was do what I thought I could do. And that was like coming out of the 90s and like listening to Hot 97 and listening to just people that you love, and just it inspires you.
When you decide that you're going to go up to Buffalo,
Yep.
How is it for you to leave and be, 7 hours away, something like that?
It's about 7. 6
And what
hours.
was it like for your parents?
So what I actually left on, my parents had split in '94, so I lived with my mom, and then I lived with my dad for a little bit. And going to Buffalo, the education was important for them. That's all they knew. So going to Buffalo was important. Going to college was important, which is great. For me, leaving the Bronx, I left high school really happy. A lot of my friends were like rooting for me to go to Buffalo and like make things happen and be a part of stuff, which was cool. So I felt a lot of support going to Buffalo. Getting out there initially was like a little, maybe some homesick moments, even though it's the same state, still 7 hours away.
That's a long way away.
A little bit away.
You didn't know anyone up there?
I didn't know anyone, but I made friends quick.
Yeah.
A couple people were also from the Bronx, also African, ironically, and we connected and built, and we ended up building for a while. Ended up actually doing parties with one of my best friends at the time, Julian, who ended up being a part of KSR, Cardi B later on,
Crazy.
J-Class.
Crazy.
Which is like kind of dope to see what he's done and built along the way. And I made friends out there. There were a lot of kids from New York City that went to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you wanted to get into radio. Had you done radio actually?
No, but the radio actually attracted me to radio, the physical radio. Like every time, I just remember putting a tape in and recording a song because I didn't know if it was going to come on again that day, and like having my Walkman and
also you got that bass voice, you know.
You see, I can't tell. I don't know. I just hit high pitches, but the actual attraction to the physical radio attracted me to want to be in it. Mm-hmm. You sort of gravitate to what you're surrounded by.
How big was your African heritage growing up?
It was big enough where I ate the food. Not big enough where I didn't speak the language. Mm-hmm. They didn't press it on me, which I appreciate. But I think growing up, even when they're speaking to you in the language, emotion is what. Like I knew I fucked up if my Dela like the name is certain hit. Like okay, all right, Dela, get it right, get it together, get focused.
When you go to college, do you have more of an appreciation, like getting away from your family, of your family then?
100%. And getting out to Buffalo, they were like these student organizations. They had Poder, which is the Hispanic Latino group, which, okay, I like my friends from the Bronx who were Dominican and Puerto Rican got that. BSU, Black Student Union, from people that are from the city and not from the city. You had CSO, Caribbean Student Organization. You had ASA, African Student Association. It felt like a small bit of what I was leaving back in the Bronx, which was cool. When I got to Buffalo, I didn't feel like I was out of place, even though there were little homesick moments because it's a new environment, right? Sophomore year, I hit my stride, and I started to just, all right, cool, this is where we're at. This is what we're doing.
Well, yeah, what was the turning point there? Like, what did you figure out where you're like, I'm comfortable, I'm cool, and I know what I want to do?
Probably probation. Academic probation. I remember coming back.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that'll absolutely wake you up. Freshman year, first half of freshman year was cool. I remember going home for Christmas break, and a few friends passed away for a few different reasons. And I ended up coming back spring semester feeling like I was in a haze. My grades dropped. My energy with my roommates wasn't really the same. And I got put on academic probation. And they were kind of like, yo, you gotta shape up or, ship out. And I thought about, what kind of had me motivated in the past that kept me going. And it was getting involved, to be honest. So I got involved. I joined student government. The first job I had was assistant video director, which sounds a lot more glamorous than it was.
No, I think it's like C-SPAN.
You see it. But except in this case, like you were getting the jobs paid, which is pretty cool. So making $125 a month.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, do the math.
Yeah.
Actually, a month. A month. I mean, but you're in college, so
something
different. I was recording like the student events we had 120 clubs, from sports to special interests to multicultural, all different types of clubs for student interest. If you have if you have 10 people, you can start it, and then you can figure out your constitution, and it was dope. So I had to, on the weekends, I recorded a lot of those events during the daytime. And then I learned like a little bit of video editing when I was young. And then at night I hang out with my friends and probably hit a couple parties. Like that woke me up. I started to get very involved. I think my freshman year, so the Buffalo 5 years, my freshman year is very different from the other 4 years that I was in. It was like, it was much
your
more
red
outgoing.
shirt, yeah.
1,000 red shirt. That is it. It was a red shirt.
What were the barbers like in Buffalo?
Damn, that's a great question. So initially, some of my boys that I went to school with cut hair, and I trusted them.
Oh no.
They actually weren't bad.
Oh,
like,
okay.
You know what? You just said initially. It's like something goes awry.
No, I just remember in college it was just like, oh yeah, Rob down the hall has clippers. It's like, go to him, set up a chair in the bathroom,
the wooden chair,
let him
just
do his work. Yeah.
I think it's all about expectations, right? You don't ask them for a high top fade, right? You ask them for a shape up.
Yeah.
Like, don't push
Buzz
my line
cut.
up back.
Right.
Yeah. Or
don't pull out the straight razor. Like,
there are 3 options. Like, military probably has 1. Like, buzz cut, college had 3.
Right.
It's like shape up, a Caesar, or just chop it all off.
Yeah.
And you were getting that Caesar.
Early I was getting like the shape up, and then when I got more comfortable, it was like, all right, let's get the Caesar, and then we go from there. But there were a couple of good barbershops on Main Street, 1000%. Like Buffalo, there's so many similarities to Buffalo and parts of New York. So UB was split between North and South Campus. North was a little bit nicer. It was renovated in the 70s. South was a little bit older. I think you saw more of the minorities living in South Campus than North. But South is where you wanted to be on a Friday. South was popping. It was like Goodyear Hall. It was Clement. The North was cool. Sorry, North and South. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But there was a bus that took you in between. But yeah, like you trusted your barbers early that were your friends. And then after that, when you get a little bit more money as you get older, you go to the barbershops on Main Street.
So obviously, we've known you since you lived in New York City, right?
Yeah,
since we've lived in New York City, the whole thing.
Like 12 years.
Something
right?
like
Something
that, yeah.
yeah.
So we know you as very popular. You're at every function, and you have all your shit together, right? Obviously, like we all have to grow into that. You as a college sophomore, we know you're back on track in terms of like you got your focus, and you're going to all these parties. Are you known everywhere like you're known now?
I don't know if I'm known everywhere.
Oh, come on. You walk in somewhere and people know who you are. Yeah, yeah.
I know a bunch of people. I think back then, even as a sophomore, what sort of opened my eyes was like getting involved, seeing things, and then saying, why can't it be like this? And that's around the time when I joined student government. Me and Julian, who I mentioned earlier, his older cousin was a promoter, Ray, Fast Life Entertainment. They did a bunch of parties like at some of the bigger clubs in Buffalo, in Niagara, and I remember they always used to, like, even as a freshman when we first met, they would be going out to the parties, and I kind of like wasn't really into that. I was kind of more into like hanging out, being low key freshman year. I did the 180, and suddenly I started to be out a little bit more, and me and Jay were kind of like, yo, we should start think about doing some things, doing some events. I was like, all right, that's cool. Unfortunately, his father, I'm remembering it right, his father had passed. He ended up moving back home, going to Stony Brook. But we still kept talking about it. And then he came back to Buffalo later on. By that time at Buffalo, I was, there's parts of the story. I'd ended up quitting being assistant video director. I hated it. I went to Chris Oliver, who was the president, and I was like, listen, I don't think this is for me. I really appreciate the opportunity. I wasn't really clicking with my boss. He had a different energy. I was like, I don't think this is for me. He's like, well, listen, I think you add a lot of value to the group. What are you into? What are you interested in? I don't know. What do you think I'd be good at? He was like, what about promotion? So I joined the promotions team. We put on the events in the student union. So like we gave away free pizza, we gave away tickets to events, speaker series, and stuff like that, which is cool. It was good to get involved in that aspect, which taught me a lot about this next venture, the party side. So Jay and I, when Jay got back to Buffalo, we started this company called Class Entertainment.
What's the goal? Is it to make money or to throw dope parties?
Dope parties.
Did you want to like start doing concerts where you could start singing, get your singing career off?
Yeah.
Jeff gets the large picture.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 3 steps ahead.
What was it? Four. For us, we just wanted to do dope parties at the best venues with the best DJs. Like that was the formula. Best experiences. And I remember in 2003, so I was still coming back to the city, like in between. I got my grades right. 2003, I had a barber named Sugar Bear who used to cut hair on Leland Avenue.
Oh, Sugar Bear from Leland Avenue.
Yeah, he cuts your hair too, right? Yeah, exactly. He knows everybody. He's more popular than
He gives me the Caesar.
With Suge, we called him Suge. He had a bigger sort of posture.
Yeah, like a bear.
Like a bear. Yeah. Bingo. You should, that should interview you. Sugar Bear was dope. I told him, just randomly, I was like, man, like I want to start doing parties in Buffalo. I'm not sure what we should do. He's like, yo, actually, my boy, actually works with this guy, this DJ crew, the heavy hitters. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I hear them on the radio. That's fire. Like, it's like, yeah, you should talk to my man, L. Boogs. Okay.
Shout out to L. Boogs.
Shouts to L. Boogs. So Jay and I, we're thinking, we're plotting, scheming, we're putting things on paper, we're planning it out. We both dress up in suits.
Sure.
And I have this picture somewhere. We dressed up in suits in 2003, and we drive to, I believe it was 665 Broadway, which is the RPM offices, Renee McLean. That's where Boogs was working
Shout out to Renee, yeah.
And I remember we got up there, and we had spoken on the phone about coming down to meet him. And I think he first saw us, and he was like sort of taken back.
Because you were the first people who had shown up to his office in suits.
I don't know. We just thought like, yo, like presentation.
Sure,
first, how many people are coming to them saying, yo, do our party?
Right.
I think he saw how we were dressed, but then he heard how we spoke, and the energy was a little different. And I just remember saying, yo, we want to get Enuff. Like, we want to book these big DJs. And then he hit us with the price, and we're like, damn, I don't know if we got that. I don't think we're there yet. And
take us through that. You have to give him money up front.
Yeah, but even we pitched them that we wanted to work with them beyond one party. Like, we wanted to go hard, right?
You wanted a residency.
Yeah, like sort of like just like we want to work directly with Shah. We know the people, we know the players. This is when I was still in student government. Like, we knew how things were moving. Take a chance on us, and they did.
This is an on-campus event?
This was off campus. Like, they still had a lot of parties in downtown Buffalo. Like, there were venues like the Sphere and Town Ballroom and Level and like just these nightclubs. Like, Buffalo had nightclubs.
So you hold on. You're how old?
In 2003, how old was I?
20?
20.
So you're not 21.
August 25th, you do the math. Maybe I was just turning 21 or not.
But
Well, I mean, did you have a fake?
No, I didn't do fakes. I actually, believe it or not.
Did you chalk your ID?
Nah, man. Like, yeah. So these are really good questions. These are fantastic. This is good energy.
I'm not trying to get you arrested for
statute
chalking your ID.
limitations. How does that work? Actually, so in Buffalo, you could go to 19 and drink, but I wasn't a big drinker when I was young. Like, the first time
Wait, you could go to 19 and drink?
Yeah.
You mean the club?
In Canada. In Canada.
Oh, got it.
In Buffalo, it's 21.
Got
Buffalo
it.
21.
I was like, I don't know what the laws are. What you think the laws are.
I'm getting a lot of people in trouble. Everything's fine, though. Everything's fine. But nah, so 2003, I think I was just turning 21. Probably just turning 21. And I was. And
so you knew the spaces and the players.
Which was super helpful to understand how things moved. So Boogs was like, yo, listen, I know Enuff is this, but yo, I know someone who's just as dope and it's not enough money. I'm like, who? He's like, yo, Kast One.
Shout out to Kast One.
And I'm like, I never really heard him before, but sure. Like, if it's your reco and Sugar recommends you, then yeah, let's do it. And I remember our first party. Timing of parties is really important in Buffalo. I think probably in college, the first party of the year, the last party of that semester, the first party of the semester, the last party of the year. Of the school year. Everybody's jockeying for position. Greeks, independents, promoters, some school organizations started getting into it. The clubs were getting into it. So you're battling against a lot of people for this slot. And I just remember going to, it was called the Sphere. It was downtown Buffalo. Shouts to Artie Quitchoff, who I think still owns that space. And I remember we had gone to some suits as well. There was a black fraternity that was also going for the first part of the year in 2004. Won't mention their names. They're super dope, but they know. And I remember,
you know?
Yeah.
Damn, you guys are good. This is good. This is really good. So I just remember going to Artie and we went with our pitch. And I know this fraternity had also gone with their pitch. And we're like, listen, we're going to bring this audience that has been looking for a different type of party. We're putting up the investment for it. My Dodge Neon, I had a blue Dodge Neon, if you remember.
I remember, yeah.
I had a blue Dodge Neon that had I put like Bose speakers in it. And I loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. I sold that so I could have money to do this party. Because I'm like, listen, if it doesn't work, then
I'll walk everywhere.
I walk. The bus works.
Yeah.
And I remember selling that for like $1,500, almost $2,000.
And what does that mean? That's a guarantee for like Kast One to come up to Buffalo?
That was part of it.
Or for the space, or
for the space. I mean, the space was like 2 racks. Kast, I don't remember how much he was at the time. Most can't afford him right now. It's like for the flyers, for the T-shirts, we had jackets, we had.
Whoa.
We went all out. We were in the student union. This is 03. We had class entertainment jackets, hats. I'm gonna put up a Throwback Thursday.
You were bringing a totally different energy.
They had to.
Yeah.
The only way to say or show your number one is to change the definition of it. And we didn't think anybody else was doing that. So we're like, let's go all out. Like, put everything on the table and go for it. Our team was diverse. We had but it was diverse in look, but same mental. Mm-hmm. Like, they were Dominicans on our team, black people on our team, white
Rob
people
was Italian.
We were Rob was Italian. Exactly. Like, it was just like a mixture of people.
How many tickets did you have to sell?
The spot held, I think, a little bit under. I think it was 1,700.
Big space.
But yes, big space. But we didn't sell tickets at the door.
Gotcha.
This is when, and we also slightly lowered our price. So we increased our expenses and lowered the price on entry. I think it was $5 for women, $7 for guys.
So if you're selling at the door, you want to make sure that line is like crazy
thick.
Yeah.
And September in Buffalo, everybody's freshmen. Like,
yeah. And this is before it gets real cold.
yes.
But it's still real cold.
It's chilly. It's chilly in September. September in Buffalo is like what a late October.
7 degrees.
Like that's like 60. It's like November in New York.
So if you don't sell the tickets ahead of time and you're anticipating like people just showing up to get in, there's a chance that maybe no one's going to show up.
1,000%.
And you're never getting that Dodge Neon back.
It's quiet. It's quiet for the neon.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of math. It's like, all right, we usually print 5,000 flyers. If you get rid of every flyer, you're almost guaranteed to have 10% of the people there.
This is what you know or what you heard?
This is what we heard and what we thought.
Wait, why does it sound like Ron Burgundy, where it's like it works 100% of the time?
That's exactly what it was. Panther. But that was the thought process. Like, all right, let's get 5,000 flyers. Let's get this out to the 5 surrounding colleges. ECC, which is Erie Community College, Damon,
Buffalo
Canisius,
State.
Buffalo State, UB. Buff State is where I met Kam.
Yeah, shout out to Kam.
In the Union. We're handing out flyers in 2003. So, needless to say, Artie gave us the opportunity to do the party. We went hard. And I just remember we picked Kast One up from the airport, brought him to the hotel, stayed at the hotel. I think it was called the Comfort Inn and Suites. Shots to them being super dope and not asking for 5-star hotels when they should have got it because they're that dope.
Yeah.
Although Comfort Inn and Suites was cool.
Yeah.
Are we sponsored by them?
I think maybe. Yeah.
Let's write up that proposal.
Yeah.
A lot of free plugs. And I just remember Kast One and L Boogs, because they both came. L Boogs is the host. Kast One was on the set. I remember them both getting to the venue, and I had left to go pick them up, right? Partially because I was a little bit of a face and I didn't want to be at the front door because everybody like, yo, can you?
Oh, no.
That hits the margin, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to get him. Jay and DeMar. DeMar was also a partner of Class Entertainment. He went to Buff State. Shots to DeMar. They held it down, went to the hotel, came back. I just remember seeing on both, there's 2 sides of the club. Front side of the club, mob. Back side of the club, we had a little velvet rope for VIP. That shit was on the floor in the street. And it was just like, I was immediately like scared.
Yeah.
I was shook.
Right.
Because I'm like, all right, they're out here. What the hell is going on inside? Why aren't people getting in? So my initial thought was like, I'm going to go inside and figure out why people aren't getting in. And so I'm like, I can't leave them out here. So I bring L Books and Kast One in. I'm like, yo, you know me. I show my pass. Yo, why aren't people getting? I open the door. The shit is jam packed.
Ooh.
And
that's the problem you do want to have.
It was. You have everybody prepares for failure. No one prepares for success. Like I was just like, well, if it don't work, this is a bar. I don't rap no more. But like that, it was just like, if it doesn't work out, then, listen, I can enjoy other people's parties. You'd rather have a life of old wells than a life of what ifs, right?
Mm-hmm. That's another bar.
Yeah.
All these bars.
So many bars. So it was jam-packed. So I remember bringing Kast One and Boogs up there, and I'm like, the only thing we had to worry about was the music, which we didn't have to worry about. And they tore that shit down. We called it Back to Basics. Every party had a theme. It was called Back to Basics. And that was just, from there on, you know, Class Entertainment, we ended up doing parties for like the next 4 or 5 years.
You made your neon money back?
Made the neon money back. Got a Nissan Maxima.
All right.
Okay.
Upgraded a little bit.
Yeah.
It was an older one, leather, had the good speakers.
Wait, did you keep the Bose speakers?
New speakers.
Okay,
They came with both speakers.
Yeah.
So and it was still a 97, but that, like, it wasn't about having the most. It was like, this is the car that I see everywhere, or not everywhere, but this is the car that I think fits me.
Yeah.
And it was a 97 Maxima.
So you do the one party, but it's important to follow it up.
1000%. So we did a few more parties. The DJs we brought, DJ CeeLo. Actually, we ended up bringing Mr. C up to Buffalo.
Yeah.
This might have been 2005. We called it Ladies Night.
Okay. This is with Kam or?
No, this is separate.
Okay,
This is separate.
gotcha.
So right around this, it's like 04,
Mm-hmm.
04 into 05. And then Kam created something called Cool Kids Entertainment, because he's a Kappa, Cool Kids Entertainment. But he did it in his way, how he brought it to life.
Mm-hmm.
And every party we wanted to like up the bar. And I remember there was this other group of promoters called Gorilla Entertainment.
A lot of entertainment.
There were a lot of promoters in Buffalo, believe it or not. And
I choose not to believe it.
I swear, there was Real Talk. Shouts to Real Talk. I remember we got into issues with other promoters. Like it happened. Shouts to Real Talk.
Yeah, but you could scrap just like you did in high school, right? So,
Listen, man, I'm a changed man. I'm a changed man. But I remember we booked Mr. C, and Gorilla Entertainment had a party at this other place. It's called the Pleasure Dome. It's in Niagara Falls.
The Pleasure Dome in Niagara Falls.
I know, you can't make it up. I swear. These are real names.
I would never go to the Pleasure Dome.
It was a bigger venue.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, sure.
Which actually the Alphas did a lot of parties. A lot of Greeks did parties there.
Mm-hmm.
If you can afford to do parties there, but the Town Ballroom was like the hot spot in Buffalo. So I remember Gorilla Entertainment brought Fat Man Scoop up the same day as us, and we had a conversation. I remember it. We're like, yo, we sort of put it out on the wire. We might do a party. When we said we might do a party, we were gonna do a party at that time, right? So then they came out and said, well, we're gonna do a party that day. I'm like, all right. We had already had the ladies' night theme. This is the first time we had actual real competition on that night. It was Fat Man Scoop versus Mr. C. We had ladies free until midnight, and then it was like $5 after. And believe it or not, people still complain about the price at that time, because it's just people going people. It is what it is.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, does that work? Ladies free before midnight means a lot of ladies, means a lot of fellas.
That's,
so does everyone show up before midnight then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, in parties, the formula has always been the right drinks, the right music, the women,
the right venue. The right DJ.
Those almost become secondary.
Pleasure
You could have
Pleasure Dome.
You could have that type of party in this room.
Yeah.
With that right energy, right? That has consistently, I think, been.
By the way, that is the plan.
Yeah.
That is the energy.
That's why you're here. Yeah.
Listen. It's the real.
Yeah.
It's the real. Let's get to it.
How do we pack out our kitchen?
Yeah. I can 100%.
Yeah, you can.
That's easy.
So that night.
Yeah. So this is like a month ahead of time, a month and change ahead of time. Planning was different. All we had from a digital standpoint was Facebook. You make your event invite, you invite people, they say yes or no. You use that as a litmus test if people are actually going to show up. Some people say no, but you see them there. Most people that say yes actually do show up. It was very impressionable, Facebook, at the event pages at that time. That's all you had digitally.
Also, maybes or nos.
Maybes were a real thing. Maybes were, you know what? Maybes felt
if you
like,
said maybe,
you're not showing up.
Honestly, what maybes felt like, you know what? I'm going to go, but I'm going to think about it. I'm going to make them sweat. And
maybe is I'm too pussy to say no because you're my friend.
Yo, people said no. Believe there was a time, like during that time, where some people didn't rock with us. And most of the
Gorilla
time,
Entertainment.
I guess it was really like you didn't have to like us, but like we're like respect what we're doing, and we didn't even ask you to respect us. It's like if you don't rock with us, all right, then you don't like this.
Yeah.
Someone else does, and that's cool. So Guerrilla Entertainment took out an ad in our school newspaper. And they took out a full-page ad, and it said, "There is no class tonight." On the night of the party, on a Friday, there is no class tonight. And I think we saw that, and we're like, wow, we made it. I was like, wow, like someone actually spent money to like dead us. And that night,
imagine you didn't see that.
No, it was like immediate. Like at first, people saw us. People started to get like on the team started to feel away. I'm like, yo, that should feel good. Someone spent money on us to say that they're the better party tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for the promo.
Yeah.
Like, God bless you. Like, I don't know. I always felt like, you know, people have power. The power of time, the power of attention, power of their wallet. If they give any one of those three to you, they've agreed to exchange a value, something, right?
Yeah.
So, yo, you're going to spend that on us. You're investing in us. That night, party happened. Pleasure Dome was a ghost town. They were sending their bus to the town ballroom to pick up people who were outside trying to get in. This is January. People that were outside trying to get in. And I know it's college, and I know it probably sounds like whatever it sounds like, but that was massive for us. Like, that whole college party experience was just like, it inspired a lot of me moving forward. You know what I mean? It brought a lot of things to life.
If it's 47 minutes into this podcast, that can only mean one thing and one thing only. It means that it is time for our mug roundup. Get your mugs today, right now, at ItsTheReal.com/shop. ItsTheReal.com/shop has all their mugs for all your mug needs, including drinking and slugging and mugging. All those mugs, here they go. We only got 5 left.
Jeff, I have no problem with what you just said, other than
none of it makes sense.
What if it's not 47 minutes in?
Oh, yeah. Well, just fix it in post.
So we got mugs for sale.
Yep.
And some T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I want to shout out somebody who bought. I should probably get the name.
Mm-hmm. Here, I'll just kill some time. All right, great. That's right, we've got mugs for sale. MUGS mugs. We've got mugs, all your cup and mug needs.
Almost, Jeff. Almost there.
You really can't find this guy's name?
Okay. I want to shout out Christian Smith from Silver Spring, Maryland, because Christian Smith bought a mug, and Silver Spring is where our mom's from. Go listen to our mom's episode.
That's all you had to say?
250. And now back.
I just debased myself.
To Dela Yador. Even forgetting about what your academic life is like.
We forgot about. We were there for school.
Yeah,
I was
right.
there for parties.
Yeah.
Well, you're on probation. So,
yeah.
You know.
Large fact.
No, but do you consider that to be your learning experience right there? That made those 5 years worth it? Your time promoting parties? Like, basically, you were majoring in promoting.
Yeah, your charge to learn outside the classroom was to be able to stay in the classroom, because you had to be able to get good grades to stay there, or you're gonna pay a lot of money living off campus.
Yeah.
And then what are you actually doing? You're just promoting which not that there's anything wrong with it, but that just wasn't my goal. Like, I wanted to bring people together, and I think we did that.
How do you explain that to your parents?
I told my dad, and when I was living with him at the time, that I'm throwing parties with DJ Enuff from the radio, and he loved it, Like, he
understood it, accepted it.
He kind of understood it, but he was into it. He was like, cool.
And you were like $7.
$7, yeah. And it worked out. Like, it parties actually opened the door for me for a different realm. After Buffalo, I ended up getting a job with VH1, and how that connected to Buffalo. My job with VH1 Soul was to be a marketing coordinator. And one of the big parts of the job was booking partnerships with radio stations around the country to book tours for VH1 Soul artists. It was Lettucey, it was, I'm blanking, but all these like neo soul artists, and booking radio tours, because radio is still the community unifier, right? You sold tickets through the DJs, the MCs, it was all through radio. The DJs that I work with, the heavy hitters, were all over the country. You had Farris in Chicago, you had Felly Fell in LA, you had Enuff, Camilo in New York.
You had Kanye in Chicago.
Kanye's in Chicago, it's just what he wasn't promoting, but but
he was a heavy hitter though.
He was a heavy hitter. That's a fact. It was just dope to be a part of that. And then even throughout college, Enuff and the guys like took me and Jay in. In college, we booked Kanye for our Fall Fest in 2005. It was right after Katrina, where he had said, George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yep.
I remember when we put in the bid to try to get him, there were a few administrators that snickered at the idea, that weren't really into it. So in Buffalo, from being assistant promotions director, after that I ended up being promotions director. I ran for E-Board, became vice president, and finally I became president, which was super humbling.
Yeah.
Because Buffalo, 18,000 students. It was humbling, to say the least, because people have to choose you.
Yeah. Did you have a campaign slogan?
Had a campaign. We were called Elevation.
Okay.
I don't think we had a slogan. We just had a name.
Yeah.
The name Elevation was our ticket.
Because you were leveling up, you know? Yeah.
God
Yeah,
damn.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
That's a bar. Let's get that right. That's a big bar.
But also, my favorite bar, though, Pleasure Dome in Niagara Falls.
you don't say these things out loud, and then you hear them. It's like, oh, interesting. Got it. Hear you.
How did life change for you as president?
Did you have too much power?
No. No, I didn't. I had an E-Board, a vice president, Sonia Kang, who was dope, Mazen Kased. So, we had a group of delegates, Sunni delegates for
Delegates.
Wow,
Yeah.
The jokes write themselves.
Yeah.
And we were like a tight-knit group. Like, we were cool. The office was run by, we had like senior administrators, like RP, like just the people that handle finance. So every student had to pay a student mandatory activity fee, which came to us, and we planned the activities on campus.
Some of the events that you threw were?
Man, I remember the year was just mad rap concerts. It was a bunch.
Yeah.
It was Fall Fest was Kanye, Keisha Cole, and Fantasia.
Wow.
When I was VP, we had Dave Chappelle.
Wow.
Bill Clinton came the year before us to speak.
Wow.
We had Bill Cosby.
You're right.
It was a different time.
It was a different time. But yeah.
Different time for Kanye, too.
Right.
Yeah, different time.
Yeah.
Different time for Bill Clinton.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Who's the only good one?
Chappelle.
Yeah,
Chappelle's great.
Chappelle.
Chappelle's
Chappelle's
great.
been
Keisha
canceled,
Cole.
too.
Yeah, Keisha Cole.
Yeah.
We had T.I., we had Fat Joe. We had some rock bands as well. I'm blanking on the names, but we had a bunch of really cool.
Who gave you the hardest time negotiating for an appearance?
The hardest time. We had Snoop.
Kast One.
We had Snoop Dogg for our Spring Fest.
Whoa.
Which was amazing. And
It's a big show.
the rider was dope. He asked for, I think at the time, was it was the level up from Sega? Whatever it was a part of PlayStation, whatever it was.
Yeah.
There was a lot of chicken, TV. So the PlayStation grew legs.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
Fine.
well, it happens.
And you kind of bank for that.
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
anyone gave
It's an
us-
investment.
It's
you
an
know?
investment.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
You would
investment.
put up your Dodge Neon.
Yeah.
Your Nissan Maxima, excuse me.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I can't remember anyone. Oh, and this time when I become president, my partner Jay had become music director. So we're just
You and Jay were like two peas in a pod.
yeah, we're super tight.
Is it true that you got the Pope to come to campus?
I feel like that's not true. I feel like that is inaccurate. We actually had, when I was there, we had Colin Powell come through and speak to us, and I had my father come up.
Wow.
My father,
Big get.
Yeah.
My father came through. He was dressed in like the kente cloth, and it was super dope. Like they met, we took a picture together, which is kind of
that's really nice.
fire.
Yeah.
Him and Colin Powell?
Me, him, and Colin Powell.
Wait,
Amazing.
did Colin Powell do a walkthrough?
No, he did a speaking engagement. That's energy.
I want to get sponsored by the Pleasure Dome.
Yeah.
We make
That's
this
the
happen.
running joke
Yeah,
to
let's
the
throw a
Bronx
party
side.
at the Pleasure Dome,
I'm
bring
gonna-
Colin Powell up there.
Yeah, wait, is Pleasure Dome still open?
I don't know, man.
I'm gonna check.
Yeah, you should check. I mean, it might have changed its name. It was in Niagara Falls, New York.
Well, have you been to Niagara Falls?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Been a few times. It was dope. It was cool. I mean, so it was just 45 minutes. Canada was just 45 minutes from Buffalo. I remember when I had the blue neon, me and my boys had gone up to Canada, and the blue neon again. It's been through. It had been through a lot prior to me selling it, but we crossed the Peace Bridge, or I think it was the Peace Bridge. There, had a good time. Came back. car broke down right before crossing. I was with Nelly.
Yep.
And I was
Shouts to Nels.
Shouts to Nels. A few of my other friends, Jacob, Arturo, and I just remember being stuck, and then we had a tow truck.
This is in Canada?
This is right before you get over the Peace Bridge.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait. The Pleasure Dome is a strip club.
Is there's no way it's a strip club right now? Really? That's impressive.
Unless I'm looking at a different.
No, Niagara Falls, New York.
Yeah.
It's on Ice Lake Road or something.
Oh no.
Wait, is it a different?
Probably Pleasure Dome, Niagara Falls, New York.
Because let me tell you, it sounds like a strip club.
Yeah.
Also, the Google reviews say there's no discount for military, and they get a 1 star for that.
1 star, valid. You got to discount the military.
Thank you for your service.
Overrated, overhyped, and overpriced place.
Come here.
Plenty of other places are a better time without draining your wallet.
Yeah.
Jesus, what a
Avoid at
time.
all costs.
What a time.
If you pay a premium, you get some Pleasure Dome.
So,
There's a thing about private dances. They're real strict about that.
Times have
at the
changed.
Pleasure Dome, where is this?
So okay, you do your time.
Whitehaven, Pennsylvania.
No.
5 years. 5 years. 5 years up at Buffalo.
5 years Buffalo.
You graduate and come down to Manhattan.
Yep.
You back living in the Bronx?
Still in the Bronx.
And you get the job at VH1.
Yep.
And that's a 9 to 5.
It's a 10 to 6.
10 to 6.
10 to 6 was fantastic because this is around the time where I was running with Enuff and the guys. So
Wow.
right after work, I'd go to the station, Hot 97.
395 Hudson.
395 Hudson, 100%. What I didn't talk about earlier, one of my first internship in college, 03. 03 was a busy summer. I actually interned at Power 105.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Down the dial.
Yeah. I interned at Power 105 at the time. Ironically, the promotions director was my chorus teacher's nephew from high school.
Wild.
Small world.
Big wild. Darren Pfeffer. Shouts to Darren, who's now at MSG doing amazing
Dope.
things.
What were you doing as an intern?
Man, I was on the promo team. And we were setting up promotional giveaways for shows, giving away T-shirts, stickers,
The pop-up tents?
pop-up tents,
Getting some Pleasure Dome.
Pleasure Dome. Had to fill out your little rec sheet on the speakers you brought, and it was did the dirty work. That was what opened my eyes to what type of promotions were needed in Buffalo in 04. So a lot of this, we had some creative ideas with Class Entertainment, but a lot of it was inspired just by watching and learning.
So at Power 105, you had some of those Sundays spent at a Boost Mobile?
100% in front of a supermarket. The most fun I had, though, was at Rucker in 03.
Whoa, that's cool.
Rucker was dope. I actually have a picture somewhere with a do-rag. There's times I had 3X shirts on. I was half the weight I am now.
Yeah.
With Rod Strickland and Beyonce came to Rucker. I don't have a picture with Beyonce.
Oh, all right.
But she was there. But just being in 03, I think that was around the time Jay and Fat Joe were that whole thing was happening.
Yeah.
But Power 105 was at Rucker.
Well,
at
you
the
were
time.
a Fat Joe guy.
Bronx, 100%.
Yeah.
He had no idea who I was. But it was fine. But still having met Big Pun way back when, it's kind of cool. But yeah, so just fast forward now, after the parties, after booking the DJs, being at Hot 97 after work, linking with the guys, and then going to Patty Laurent parties. The best, shouts to Patty Laurent. You're not going to hear about this, but the best party that I've ever been to.
Period.
Okay, it's one of the best parties I've ever been to.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was far beyond whatever I could. T-Pain's album release party at Air in the Meatpacking District. I think Air was AER. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Enuff DJ'd. And it was open bar. I didn't even know what open bar was. I couldn't even fathom it. Open bar. It was fast food. But forget that. It was the people. It was rolling in there with Kast One, Camille. There's a picture of Juanito and Big Julio and Shasta Julio and it was just one of those nights where it was worth getting home at 3:00 and waking up at 7 to go to work at 10.
Yeah.
That, and that's what it was for a while. It was I had my work thing, and then I went out with the guys. And what was great is eventually I was able to bring them into some of the hip hop honors stuff that we had going on with VH1, which is cool, and they were part of that too.
So when you're running around with Enuff and all them,
yeah,
what do you see about the way that he walks into a room and the way he just sets up behind the turntables and does his thing.
The utmost respect walking into a room, like till this day, like the utmost respect. Back then, it was just as enough. He was getting booked every club, every promoter in the city, and that's when I started to see the divide. Like in Buffalo, it was a little easier for me to see like black, white, Hispanic, like all in a room partying. When you get to New York, you have the Spanish promoters, you have the white promoters, you have some bridge and tunnel, you have the black promoters, and you kind of knew what nights they'd be there. Like I think back to Strata on 21st, Friday was the black night, Saturday was the Spanish night.
Right.
And you'd see like maybe the union DJs on Friday, and then you'd see the heavy hitters, Camilo, on Saturday. But the promoters drove that. It was the relationship between the promoter and the club and the booking. So it was super interesting to see that dynamic. Boulevard on Bowery, which is RIP Boulevard, which is now Vandal. Crash Mansion, which is now Vandal. But it's just enough walking into a room, respect. One of my favorite things about the guys, Kast One. If you've ever seen Kast One is like an X-Men. What's
Go on.
Yeah. What's the X-Men's name that could change into whoever? What's her name?
Oh, Changeling.
That one. Yeah, that one. Whatever X-Men, I'm blanking. But like he could literally morph into whoever he wanted to be. And you think that like
In terms of his musical choices?
In terms of his set, like he'll go deep reggae, or at the time when it was reggaeton, or just hip hop, and there were levels to the hip hop. Like Kast would just see things. He knew what you wanted to hear before you knew what you wanted to hear, and he still does. Like, he still gets that. What's super interesting about Kast, and Boogs actually hit me to this, if you've ever seen him stretch in the booth and take his shoes off, he's about to fuck this party up.
Wow.
Like, he's about to go to work. And I always look out for him. And a couple times I caught it, he'd go wild. And it's the most amazing thing.
He just can't do the same show in shoes?
No, I don't know. It's just his thing.
Yeah.
And then he had his like crossfader reverse. Like, like he was just like a prodigy type. Anyway, shouts to Kast. Like my
Big shouts
favorite
to
DJ. Amongst a group of DJs that I love, like he's just amazing.
What was your relationship with in college and then post-college with Kam McCullough?
Kam and I, we met again in Buff State Student Union, who rejected me. Fine. I went on probation anyway, so it's fine.
Right.
And we met in the student union. I can't remember who introduced us.
Jesus.
Probably Jesus. And,
Good looking out.
Good looking out, guy.
Yeah.
Great word. And then we connected and clicked from there. What's funny is that it's a story that Real Talk, which we actually had, Class Entertainment had some issues with, but we're all good now. Kam was cool with Real Talk, titled with Real Talk. So I remember when Real Talk and Class got into it, we were on opposite sides of the field, so to speak. And but that didn't really, we weren't against each other. We were just opposite sides of the field.
It was like Lehman and Kennedy.
Essentially. Wow. You guys are fantastic. Holy shit. Yes, essentially. Yes. Yeah. It's home turf. We met in 2003. He was doing events. We actually did a party together. I think it was at the Town Ballroom. I'm going to have to look up the flyer. I know I have it somewhere. I'm going to find it. But it was cool kids in Class Entertainment. We did a party together in like 2007. After I left Buffalo, I kept coming back for the parties. Like I would leave work, fly out Friday to Buffalo for the party, stay the weekend, come back, go back to work. So it was kind of cool. But Kam and I, we stayed tight till he came back to the city, in like 08. And then things were different, right? Like I think at this time I had stepped back from Class Entertainment. Jay was more taking the lead on that. I was at VH1, catching my stride. Then I moved over to BET. I started working on Centric, which is now like BET Her.
Yeah.
So I was still doing radio promotion, but then I moved over to consumer marketing, which is what I was doing for Centric. And then Kam and I stayed close. He came to the city. And then it was like, all right, I'm seeing what the city's like. And, partying doesn't stop. It just changes, right? Mm-hmm. And one of my best friends, DJ Crossover, he used to go out on 2nd Ave. And there were a bunch of bars like Turtle Bay, Traffic, all these bars.
Yeah.
And then one night he went to this bar called Opal, which is on the corner of 52nd and 2nd. And he's like, yo, Dela, we got to check it out. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's $5 drinks. It's 7 to 12. I'm like, how? How is this possible, right? Like, they were serving, like, Patron and Grey Goose for $5 from 7 to 12. So I remember going in there on a Friday, and DJ Peter Parker was DJing. Cool dude. And I went in and the energy was like,
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, heard you. And the way Opal set up, it's like a party room in the back, but there's a bar in the front. So I was like, yo, what is going on here? This seems like an opportunity. And I remember meeting the owner one night and his sister and talking to her, saying, love to talk about doing some events here. Curved me for 6 months. Didn't really hear, but didn't really get the energy. But I still kept going because I swore. Still being in the Bronx 52nd and 2nd, it just seemed like a gold mine. It just seemed like, how isn't anything really popping here? And they called it Opal Fridays, and it was still, it was what it was.
Opal had Opal Fridays.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Okay.
I'll tell you later. I called it Opal Fridays when I went to another venue after. But we'll talk about that later.
But you wanted to bring a new energy.
Yeah, I wanted to bring energy to a bar scene.
Yeah.
And mind you, the clubs were still very much happening. Like, it's funny. Still kept going.
Well, he says no or doesn't respond to your
All right, but
correspondence.
Fine. It was minimal excitement from their part. So I just kept going back, and then I met with this guy, TJ, who's the general manager there. And, their job is to make money and to bring money into the venue, into the space. So like, listen, it'd be great if we could, take a shot and see what's what. And he's like, let's see what you got. It taught me that sometimes the owner will say no, but the promoter will say yeah. And not that TJ was the promoter, right? When I get to a club, I don't argue with the bouncer. The bouncer has a job to do, like to protect blank. That's their job. Sometimes you want to ask to speak to a manager, right? Mm-hmm. Who can help me get this done. So that's kind of what that was. And in this case, TJ, who was lower on the totem pole, was like, let's do it. Ended up doing parties there for about 3-4 years. Had a bunch of my friends guest bartend. Shots of Nomad and Sean Malcolm. They used to DJ.
Crazy.
And it was just Opal Fridays just was like a thing. It was just like I got out of work at Viacom, go to Opal, and then after that, sometimes we'd go to like Taj, which is where like a Kast One would be on a Friday.
3-4 years doing that?
3-4 years doing that. I think one of the best nights there was we used to do Black Friday after Thanksgiving at Opal, because everybody used to come home from school.
Sure, yeah.
And Second Ave was dead. And I remember the first one we did, the line was wrapped around the corner. Usually they would like pay me a couple days later. So I like pay the bartender like, ahead of time. I remember at the end of the night, TJ handed me like an envelope overflowing of money, respectfully. He's just like, yo, we gotta keep this energy going. Like, let's go. Let's keep it going. He was taking shots. He was buying shots for everybody. It was like, and then I got cool with the owners. Super cool with the owners. Eddie Brady, who ended up owning Opal and Tammany Hall. He owned Tammany Hall as well, which,
That's a big place.
Huge place, which fit into the equation later on, because HennyPalooza was at Tammany Hall.
So Kam has a party in a basement amongst friends.
Yep.
Were you there that night?
I was there the first night.
You were one of the friends.
I was one of the friends.
And you were playing games?
No.
Did you bring any liquor?
I did bring liquor. I did bring some chicken and liquor at the time.
Yeah. That was the Notes app invite.
That note, I made that Notes app invite. You can see how old my iPhone. It might have been an iPhone 3.
Right.
Because it had the dotted lines. Like,
totally.
You need to stay in line. Like I would get out of line.
Yellow
typing,
background.
Yellow background.
Yeah.
It was like bring Hennessy of any flavor, chicken of any flavor at the time.
But the goal that night
Yeah.
was a controlled, like, small crowd, right? It wasn't going to be like overflowing,
Yeah,
or
it was a
It was a
game
kickback.
night. It was a kickback. Yes,
Yeah.
it was a kickback. When I got there, so it started. I think I want to say it started like 8. When I got there about 11:30, the lights were lower. That's a joke. The jokes tell themselves, ladies and gentlemen. I got there like 11:30 with chicken, chicken and liquor in tow, and the lights were lower. Genius was tearing this place down. I just remember Ebb
Speaking quietly.
Speaking so quietly.
Shout out to Eb the
Shout out
Celeb.
to Eb the Celeb. She's unblock me, Eb. Unblock me. Everything's fine. I just remember just the energy. And Laura Stiles was at the first one.
Big shouts to Laura.
Lady Shells was there. Kaz, the group was there. It was just nuts. It was nuts. And I just remember that picture of all the empty bottles by the garbage can. That's forever, forever. And then Fox. Because Fox is notorious for hashtags.
Yeah.
Unfollow Diddy. Shouts to Fox, one of the smartest people I know.
Yeah.
The HennyPalooza hashtag just took a different meaning. And that was the first one. The second one was at an art gallery.
Yeah.
In the Lower East Side on Norfolk. Mm-hmm. And I won't say too much about that day, but it was amazing. It was February. It's a couple months later. I hope someone painted the walls.
Yeah.
Because blue denim stains white walls. Mm-hmm. You never know till it does, right? Isn't that life? You never know what things do until they do. But I just
no one ever prepares for failure.
Yeah.
No one ever prepares for success.
No one prepared for failure.
Yeah.
There was no failure that night. Everything was fine.
Wait, why were the walls stained with denim?
Jeff, use your imagination.
Pleasure Dome.
Yeah.
Was that
Pleasure Dome? Huh. Yes. There's a lot of dancing.
So could you see in either of those first two nights, in different locations, the only thing that connects it is the energy and the liquor.
Yeah.
Could you see the future?
I could see that this could only go one way if people believed it could go one way.
Well, what does that take in your eyes at that point?
Belief. There's this quote, I think it's Henry A. Ford, whether you can or you can't, you're right. And I think HennyPalooza, the group, had faced a lot of challenges, right? The third HennyPalooza was on 141st and Convent. It was in a house, brownstone-ish. That night was filled with emotion.
Wasn't there the car hit someone outside, something like that, right?
Was it a Nissan Maxima?
I didn't drive that night. Everything was fine. I think at this time I was living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I was living in Sunset Park at the time. Chinatown, Sunset Park, but yeah, that night was crazy. That's the only way I can explain it. It was nuts. It was like Mike Mogul carrying ice across the crowd. I was bartending in the inside area. There was a bartender out there, in the patio. There was a little water fountain. And it was like a trap house. And I say this in the most respectful way because obviously the leveling up has happened and you can actually have conversations about where we are and how we got there. But anything was possible that night, for better or for worse. And I did hear, the girl that got hit by the car, apparently it was the slowest moving car that nudged her. And anyway, stories for days.
Yeah.
I think the fourth one was at the Kappa House, where I remember that night. I remember there was, those the Poland Spring things.
Yeah.
You press the lever.
Oh, yeah.
It was filled with Hennessy.
Okay.
It was filled with Hennessy, yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So some people got cold Hennessy or hot Hennessy, whatever that
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
Hot Hennessy for a cold winter night.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
And again, same thing. Just the people, the music, the energy. That was 3 floors. It was nutty. And then obviously it got bigger. It got bigger and it grew, and that's when Tammany Hall came into play. And Tammany Hall had it there a couple of times. Chris Styles always reminds me of this. Remember that day at HennyPalooza where I told you I'm gonna be on that stage? He reminded me of that at One Day Only last year. And it's just, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And this, around that time, I came back to VH1. I like what was going on at VH1. I was still working on nostalgia, music, hip hop honors. Got laid off September 2011. I kind of knew it was coming because a lot of the work that I was working on, I made a choice to go to BET or come back. They hired me back a couple months later. So it's 2012. All this is happening. 2012, HennyPalooza begins the end of the year. I'm back with VH1 doing partnership marketing. I'm with them for 2 years. I think 2013 is where I got recruited off LinkedIn for Pernod Ricard.
And that is where you worked primarily with?
Avion Tequila, it was Martell Cognac, it was Jameson, it was Perrier-Jouet Champagne. It was a lot of these really prestigious brands that were looking to make their mark in multicultural.
When you say if you see it, if you believe it, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say when you're throwing house parties.
Sure.
Also, it's another thing to say when you're up in Buffalo, not in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to pair a brand,
Yeah.
and you're on the business side with an organic pop and party in New York City, and you believe it, is it possible to achieve it?
Oh, listen, when I first started at Pernod, January 2014, I was like, oh, it's lit. Like, I have these people here that do this, these people there that do that. It's a plug and play. It wasn't that. What I didn't know was the language I needed to speak inside the building so that they understood the culture. CPG marketing is usually based on insights in which strategies are created, and then you ladder it down. You bring it to life through the creative, through the marketing tactics, but you have to align on what success looks like first. What do we want to achieve? How do we want to get there? So it was not easy. I was like, oh, we're going to do parties. I got y'all. And then my boss, Marame, shouts to Marame, super dope, worked at Heineken as well, was like, actually, no, we got to develop strategy, and then we can plug and play a lot of these opportunities that you believe in. So I did that for 2.5 years, and I think towards the end of my run in multicultural, I was so like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And the CMO, Pierre Berard, who's from France, but super like forward thinking, he just wanted to really understand what I saw. He came to Sons of Essex for the Sunday brunch, and really started to couldn't understand how Sons of Essex, which is a prestige luxury account at the time, one of Jameson's strongest accounts, could do a Saturday brunch, all hip hop, be packed out with this diversity, and have this type of energy. We were on the couch, standing on couches.
Yeah. He was too?
He was standing on the couch. He took the blazer off, standing on the couch. And I appreciate people that lean in, right?
Yeah.
Like the executive leaned in and was like, yo, this is dope. Let's get to it. So I came in that role with no official liquor experience, which is part of the reason why the learning was a little rough, right? Multicultural marketing was really trade marketing. Trade marketing is essentially your audience are the retailers. The retailers in the off-premise, liquor stores, wholesale, the on-premise nightclubs, bars, bowling alleys, wherever they serve liquor ready to drink. Trade marketing. Can I give them this Jameson banner to hang up in a bar? Can I give them this Martell banner to put up on a wall that will influence people to buy the brand, right? What I was trying to explain but didn't know how to say it was the war begins before consumers even walk in the liquor store or in the nightclub. You know what you're going to drink before you walk into any venue. You have an idea. Like you probably have a bucket of brands that you're probably going to rock with. What brand gave you that experience that one night? What brand gave you a memorable night? What brand is going to bring you this? Whatever it is. It's like it becomes badge brands.
Yeah.
As I was at Pernod, I moved on to luxury marketing, which was I worked on more on champagne and the higher end brands. I was doing that for a year, which was cool. And that was more influencer engagement. Working with the prestige team and our prestige sales managers that were in Miami, LA, New York, Dallas, different levels of prestige, like high-end restaurants, bars. I was able to travel. It was such an eye-opener from the Bronx, such an eye-opener to see luxury at this realm. I learned so much. I learned a lot from it. And then I started to understand that in luxury marketing, people of a certain income have a certain taste, and this is what they're willing to spend it on. Ironically, that's still multicultural marketing. That's still urban marketing. People are willing to spend X amount of dollars on what they believe in, whether it's bottles, clothing, apparel, sneakers. Like, people will spend what they believe in, which is not different from a millionaire. Priorities just change.
Sure.
Priorities are different. So that was also educational, also reinforced the things I believe in. Around this time, it's like 2015, my old colleague, sort of mentor, who had moved over to Hennessy, Shasta Rich McLeod, while I was at Pernod Ricard, I was still trying to plug HennyPalooza in with Hennessy, which, friends, home team. That's what it was. It wasn't that easy of a plug and play over there. Met some hurdles, and it eventually didn't end up working out.
Yeah.
So
what were those hurdles?
I remember telling Cam and Benner at the time, listen, shouts to Benner.
Big shouts to Benner.
Yeah, you know how long I've known Benner? I've known Ben
2 years.
I met Benner around the same time I met you guys. So I told Benner and Cam, like, listen, I'm thinking luxury. I'm thinking the brand that they want to be, Hennessy as a brand. Like maybe we should, maybe in the content, maybe we shouldn't be drinking from the bottle. Maybe we reel it back on the twerking. Maybe we reel it back on certain things and we just show the good time. They did that. They reeled it back. The content was great. And, you know, for me, it was interesting, right? Because people like Henrock are my peoples. I've known him since he was on Ciroc, running with Bad Boy, like OG. But they're different tactics. Like, HennyPalooza wasn't trying to take over what Henrock was doing. Their nightclubs, their lifestyle. This is just a different extension. And I remember that happened, and then there was really no movement. And I think at that time, like, Cam and Ben were like, yo, F this. Like, we just got to be who we are. And at that point, I was like, I feel that, yo. Like, don't bend, be who you are. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If they don't get it, they will one day.
Yeah.
I think everyone struggles. Part of the reason people struggle is because they skip steps. I think on Instagram, people, it's easy to see a lot of what HennyPalooza or DucePalooza is right now. There were struggles that maybe didn't or haven't been shown, and it's all good. You know,
that third HennyPalooza.
Boy, that third HennyPalooza. What a time. But look, the leveling up was real.
When you are working, I don't know what those hours were. When you look in the mirror during those hours, who do you see?
That's a really good question. I saw someone that was trying to connect two sides, culture and corporate. And if you look at the numbers and you look at where any alcohol brand's volume is coming from, it's hard to deny that the dollars shouldn't be going into those same opportunities, into culture. I think sometimes, and I don't think it's, I think sometimes people in positions need to understand things before they sign off. Understanding isn't a prerequisite to approval. If you wait for someone to understand what you're about before they give you the green light, your light will be red forever. So there's not enough said about this group, the Henny to DucePalooza, in the push and what Cam has basically pushed and what Ben and Rory have leveled up into Duce. And people from culture respect and believe that, a la Jay-Z. Like that is, they believe in the grit. They were once in that position of, people don't believe, I gotta believe in myself. Again, whether you can or you can't, you're right.
Right.
So,
and that matters way more, by the way, than any brand name.
1,000%. Because if you keep working and doing what you need to do, the brands will be knocking at your door. Just think about where Brunch Bounce was, apartment 78.
Oh, man.
Like,
Shout out to Irv.
Shouts to Irv. Like, think about what trap karaoke was like.
Big time.
You know, back then, what Body Rolls started as.
Yeah.
What Grits and Biscuits.
Oh, my God.
Which you could really make Grits and Saturday Morning Cartoons, one of the same. Shouts to Alzo Mo.
Yeah.
Like, what they were like on the road first.
Yeah.
They were like,
they did Irving Plaza. They did.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to see that people are like, well, listen, I don't have this brand support, but I'm gonna go out and get it.
Shout out to Everyday People.
Shouts to Everyday People, like Modi, like those. I don't know, man. Like, we're in a time where believing in yourself is the most important thing. It's the most important checkbox that you can check off. In order for other people to believe in you, you got to believe in yourself.
For sure. No one's going to care about you more than you yourself.
You guys.
Right.
The same goes for you guys. You guys built, and look at where you are now. It's amazing what everybody is
in our kitchen.
Yeah.
In your kitchen. Energy.
Yeah, but just wait till Della gets this popping over here.
Just wait till I get 150 people in here in an intimate night of guests.
Can't
with flavored
wait.
chicken and flavored alcohol. Just wait.
You can get denim out of brick.
The pleasure living
That's
room.
right.
I see it already.
That's right.
I see it.
So when you look at what HennyPalooza did at Terminal 5, so their 5-year anniversary, they sold that out. It was crazy. And then they did the Douce deal.
Yep.
And, you know, the sky's the limit for that, right?
Yeah.
They're doing festivals. They're all over the country and the world. And you consider that party that started in that basement.
Yeah.
How gratifying is that for you?
It's super gratifying. It's crazy gratifying. When I think back to that 5-year anniversary, so that 5-year anniversary was at Terminal 5 was super interesting because it was like, well, we're gonna still order this brand, Hennessy. We're still gonna instruct the venue to order this brand. But then they brought me in from a Martell side. And this is when Wale was still under the Martell deal.
Yep.
And, you know, I was working, shouts to India over at the Fader, India and Janisa. This is around the time where there was a lull, right? We had been meeting with Kam Benner, Peach, Kam Benner, Peach, and Rory to talk about what a Martell 10th partnership would look like. And I remember being in Fader and we're talking about the opportunity and, again, strategy. We're trying to figure out how the 10th fits into what Martell's strategy already is. And I remember that board and the presentation that Kam had come up with, and Rory and Benner, which they nailed, and Peach, and they nailed it, killed it. And I looked at it and I was like, this is really dope for Martell. And it would have caused them to be a different animal than what they were, because what I needed them to do was to dumb it down so that people on my side could understand it, which they were almost willing to do at the time. But simultaneously, the Rock Nation convos were happening. And I remember Kam called me up. He said, yo, I'm going to come through. So he came up. This is by the time I was living in Bed-Stuy. Came up to the crib, and we were on the roof just chilling, just chopping it up like we normally do. He's like, listen, man, like, I had a really important call, and I spoke to Len, and I spoke to the guys over there, and like, I think they really want to make this thing happen with Duce. And at that point, I was like, yo, I feel you 1,000%. That bag is ready to be picked up. They're ready to go. I had to think through how legal would deal with an event like this, how the brand teams would understand it. I did all that thinking, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have you wait. I wouldn't ask you to wait for that to happen. Go get it. And they did. And again, betting on yourself is the best bet you can make. And people bet on them. And that bet is coming through tenfold. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Also at that 5th anniversary Terminal 5 show, Mr. C was playing.
Mr. C was playing.
Yeah, so it's like this full circle thing.
Yeah, man. Along throughout the years, like, Mr. C has been a supporter. The guys at Camilo was at the 5-year anniversary. Boogs was there as well. Like, it's just...
we were there.
Yeah. ItsTheReal was there. ItsTheReal was there. Pleasure Dome didn't make an appearance, but it's all good. But yeah, and that's what it's become, like, a place for people, like, all these parties have become... I was with... I met up with Annie and Melissa from Mass Appeal and Tidal. Shouts to them.
Yeah.
Super dope.
Yep.
I literally just now got an email from Annie Chen.
Oh, that's
Look at
what's
that.
up. Yeah.
This is a small world, or small internet.
Yeah.
It. But they body roll party.
Killing it.
They did that because they're so busy and they want to connect with friends. They said, let me create a room that I can connect with my friends.
Right.
Imagine being so busy that in order to connect with your friends, you have to throw a party.
Or have somebody over for a podcast.
You guys are geniuses.
Yeah,
you guys get it.
Yeah.
Like
Just do it one by one.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Like, it's just, I mean, people are so talented and they don't know it. Like, the thought of bringing people together in itself is a skill.
Well, good transition there.
Oh, man.
Communications major. Because, you've had these 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 9 to 7, whatever your hours were, you're getting dressed up and going into a building. That time has come to an end recently.
Yep.
You are doing something where you're bringing people together.
Yeah.
And you're learning now how to bring brands and people and messaging together.
Yeah.
And you have this new chapter in your life.
Yeah.
Speak on that.
Listen, I'm not the first one to think of this concept. There's a gap in my years of working in corporate. There's a gap in communication, or a gap in literacy between corporate and culture. It goes without saying. You could talk about Kendall Jenner, Pepsi. You could talk about Gucci. There's something that brands that are looking to move units in our culture are missing, right? But there's also a responsibility from corporate to respect that culture and respect the conversation, be a part of it, not take it over. No one owns culture. No one. I think you can be a part of it. You can add value to it, in my humble opinion, but no one owns it. That said, I think there's an opportunity to really educate culture on the opportunity of culture. How can you be in it and not vulture it? I think there's an opportunity within influencer engagement to really bring, I hate the word influencer. Rory tweeted something and said, influencers, question for you, what do you actually influence?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's not a question that comes up enough, right? You're an influencer. What do you influence? If Instagram died today,
Oh, hey, don't put that in the air.
I'm just saying, I'll knock on wood. If Instagram died today, a lot of people would be hurt.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't want it to die today, but I take value in knowing that if it did, I would be afloat because relationships are real.
Yep.
Like real relationships are everything.
But where would you get your likes from?
Probably just draw hearts like on the building.
Yeah.
Like dot colored in. Wear heart shirts, give it out. I don't know. The influencer piece is so interesting. I don't know what the next evolution of the word influencer is, but what do you actually influence? Do you drive people to retail? Do you change how people behave or what they think or how they move? Do you inspire them? What did Nipsey say? The highest act is to inspire.
Yeah.
Like that is influence. Like not why I was late, just so we're clear, but I saw the Beyonce doc.
Oh, same with us.
Yeah.
She has power.
Yeah.
Like okay, let's check the boxes. From a retail standpoint, she doesn't even have to like spend money on marketing off the first day. The Beehive is going to do that for her on the social platforms. They're going to sell it for her. From an emotional standpoint, black women believe you can. What's that quote? You can't be what you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, be better.
Yeah.
Be this, be better. Like,
Just like Melania Trump says.
yeah. Oh my God, did you say that?
Do better.
Do better. Well,
Be better? Be
Yeah.
better?
Be better?
Yeah.
Something, yeah.
Well, she needs to do better.
Yes, she does. And
Yeah.
she needs to be better.
yeah, her and her husband.
Yeah.
But
Sorry,
but,
you were
No,
saying.
everything's fine.
No, but Jay-Z and Beyonce, right?
Yep.
You watch that documentary, you see what they do in real life.
Shouts to Ravy B. Nice
Big
cameo. in the
shouts to
credits.
Ravy B.
Massive. Bronx, what up?
Yeah. They're like superheroes because they take that power and they use it for good, right? Trump and company,
Yeah.
they're taking that power and they use it for evil.
Yeah, man. I'm waiting for the day that, hot take alert, I'm waiting for the day that poor white people realize they have more in common with poor black people.
Crazy.
Because then the Trumps can't exist.
Right.
Right.
You can't be manipulated. You don't have a leg to stand on. They don't have a leg to stand on now. I think a lot of what happens in this world is motivated by either fear or love.
Right.
And it's one of those two things, either inspire you or they keep you to yourself. And fear-mongering ain't it. Fox ain't it. New York Post ain't it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's not going to get us far. And not that this is just cool that we're talking political, right? Like,
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like, inspiration is real. People are inspired by what they see, by what moves them. You have to dig deep to find the light in darkness to really inspire you. And it's important that you have people like AOC, like Jay, like Beyonce, like even from a celebrity standpoint, that's all great, but there's real life heroes around us.
Yeah.
Like what Nipsey did, rest in peace to Nipsey, what Nipsey has done is gonna live on far longer than his life.
For sure.
That is like to inspire, to make people believe they can be more, do more, have more. Especially if you're from Houston, if you're from Brooklyn, if you're from LA, different places. You can be. So be. Whether you can or you can't, you're right. And I think it's never been more important to have people inspire that messaging than it is right now.
Yeah.
And I won't say too much about the Trumps and the Melanias, all that. I think some people will say that racism is the biggest issue in the country. Hot take alert again. I think classism is the biggest issue. I mean, you have articles coming out talking about how, again, I'm not a politician, but the Hudson Yards money was actually supposed to be for undeveloped housing or housing units in the city.
Yep.
something like Hudson Yards ate Harlem's lunch. Like classism is an issue that directly affects racism.
Yeah.
Because more people of color are more poor than not.
Well, I mean, just look at also the Notre Dame thing, excuse me, where it's like, suddenly $300 million are freed up to fix this, but
from the U.S. government.
But
From the
like,
US government.
but the underclass is just like totally fucked up.
Yeah, Jamel Hill tweeted something like "laughs in Puerto Rico."
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like,
And I saw a lot of Haitians were pissed.
yeah, a lot of
Haitians.
Haitians. And listen, I'll be honest. I have a connection. Like I have a sort of a special connection to Paris, like just from a work standpoint.
Yeah.
And just seeing that was kind of like jarring. Like, wow, politics have. I think from a country to country standpoint, I think there's politics that make countries want to donate, maybe for a favor later. Those politics. And that's why voting is so important, right? Like, that's why you can no longer be willfully ignorant and say, well, I don't like her or I don't like him, I'm not going to vote for anybody. That ship has sailed.
Right.
Like, we're at a time where you have to get involved. And I just think about the days where, I had to get involved. Like, you got to get in the mix. You have to be informed. You got to know what people are talking about.
You got to bring Bill Clinton up to Buffalo.
That's right. That's right.
I was waiting for that jab. You got to bring him up there.
Yeah, but now you're going to bring your influence and do what you best can in a positive fashion to younger people.
You call it influence. I call it.
Well, I want to take back the word.
Okay,
You know.
yeah.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
Own that.
Wow.
Own that.
Yeah.
How brave.
It's essentially these relationships that I've made over time, from corporate to influencer. The third part of what I was talking about, from corporate to influencer, youth empowerment. That for me is the longer game, but that is super important because, again, people need to be inspired by what they see. And high school, I just think about how important high school was for me. Ideally, it starts younger, but from a youth 14 to 18, or 13 to 17, I'm coming into my own, old enough to do better. People need to see examples of them. There needs to be a conversation between influencer and youth. There needs to be a feeder program between youth and corporate. We can do a lot more. And I think that's where the opportunity is. That's where the gap is. And again, if there was any example of Nipsey, you're reading things. I think you just saw the other day how about this Las Vegas resort is actually coming to fruition after they were declined. Again, you see a hurdle, you jump over it, and you keep pushing. Like the marathon continues. Like you go until you can't. Yeah. And people will believe one way or another, or be looking at the show from the outside looking in.
That's exactly right. You went to Africa last year, 2018.
I did. It was December 2017.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2017.
No problem. It was,
but Dela was late, so it's really 2018.
I made my flight. Let's be clear. The flight was made. Yeah. It was such an insane experience. It's my second time back. 94 was the first time. This was the second time back. And my father lives out there now. He retired. He lives out there. And my mom's still here in the city. But that was an experience, man. It was being out there with my sisters, seeing my family. It was just nuts to see how far the country has come and what West Africa is becoming, Ghana specifically. Getting highlighted in CNN from such a booming economy and a tourist hotspot. Last year, all these celebrities went out there for Christmas. This year, 2019 is the 400-year anniversary of the transatlantic slave trade, which I'm going back again as well. It's just amazing to see what it's become, what it is, and it's super inspirational. I think there's so many levels to, and people may disagree with this, and that's fine. There's so many levels to Black. There's there's the African-American U.S., there's the African, and then there's a little bit of this first generation that's in the middle. And I feel like myself, my little sister who's, out in L.A. doing her thing, like there's this in-between where you see both sides. Like when I go back to Ghana, they could treat me like a Yankee. Like they could, because I don't speak the language, I eat the food. Not all the food, but I'm Ghanaian, right? They could, but they don't. But it's part of that is respecting where you're from, right? Respecting that element. I think on this side in the U.S., the respect is our journeys are different from a Black African standpoint. Cool, but I see that. I get that. But we're not that different in what we deal with here. So we could do more together than we can apart. I don't believe in the African Black narrative, the head bump. Like again, go fast, alone, far, together. You know what I mean? So anyway, but Ghana was just such an amazing trip. I was out there for like 2 weeks. The weather was incredible. My pops got a mango tree in front of his house, which was just dope. Like different.
Yeah. The people
were amazing. The nightclubs were like, who did I see?
DJ Kast One.
Yeah, that's one. We saw a couple like Instagram models like out there, which was just like, yo, y'all out here. Like a lot of people come from like Germany, London, back to Ghana around Christmas to like enjoy.
I see Michael Dappa's there all the time.
Yeah,
Man's on Hot. Yeah.
Oh yes. He was there too. Yes. I know his real name. Yeah. Kaz, man. Shouts to Kaz. You know what? Like, I just want to say something real quick about this group. I just feel like they're like the Avengers of partying. Everyone has their own spinoff. Lowe's on Apple Radio. Kaz is gonna be this amazing guy in sports who's from Bleacher Report, WWE, like the Stash, like. Benner's going on to manage artists and still be like amazing event production. Same for Rory with all that he's doing, the Joe Budden podcast, and him as a just personality as a whole. Chris Styles as an entertainer, like Raven as this like amazing content capture, moment capture. She knows your best side. Like it's just amazing to see all of them put themselves back. Now I'm missing a few people,
Niles G,
VP, CEO. We call him Niles G, CEO. Ask him why. Like just everybody doing what they do.
Peach
is a genius.
Fox Files.
Fox is the smart. Everybody. Everybody puts their like individual self to the back for what the group is doing, and it's like such an incredible thing, and it's inspiring. Like. I see people tweet about it all the time, like, yo, it's crazy that they're able to like do all they do alone, and we got to keep that same energy. That same energy got to be kept.
Well, let's not forget about Dela, man. You've been killing it for a long time now. You've been throwing parties everywhere from Buffalo down to here to this kitchen, whatever. But you know what? You talk about all these people setting a great standard and looking good for this community, and you are one of them. You have been killing it. Whether you're, doing that 9 to 5 or whether you're out here in the streets. And we appreciate you and we celebrate you. And it's nice to hear your journey from volleyball hitter to heavy hitter. You know what I'm saying? Shout outs to you. Appreciate you coming up here. And congratulations. No doubt. Thank you. Thanks everyone for listening to this new episode of A Waste of Time with It's The Real. Jeff, people want to find out more about us. I'm Eric, you're Jeff. Together we are It's The Real. I found it funny. I went on YouTube and somebody left a comment on one of our videos and said, hey, I've been working for 3 years to try to figure out what the name of your podcast is, and I finally found it. What? You guys do a bad job in saying it. Are you kidding? A Waste of Time with It's The Real. Jeff, if people want to find out what we're up to, where can they go?
Honestly, who cares? Nobody's even listening, apparently. Like, we've done this every single week for 200 and something weeks.
It's crazy to me.
What is the name of our podcast? A Waste of Time with It's The Real. Who are we? It's The Real. How did it take you 3 years to figure this out?
Shout out to that guy.
3 years.
Oh, my God.
You know what I did in 3 years?
A lot.
1 million Google searches.
1 million episodes. A Waste of Time with It's The Real.
Jesus Christ. Happy Easter.
Yeah.
All right. You can go to ItsTheReal.com for all of your It's The Real needs. Ask a friend. Honestly, I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah. Have you heard of these guys?
Yeah. Just who are the white guys on the internet? One's tall, one has glasses. They do interviews.
Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, any podcast app.
Where do you think he looked?
Jeff, I don't know. It's on YouTube.
3 years.
He left a comment on YouTube. Shout out to him. I'm going to give his name out. It's going to take me 3 years to figure it out.
All right. You can also find us at Twitter at ItsTheReal, Instagram at ItsTheReal, Facebook at ItsTheReal. I've said that every single week.
It's crazy. Go follow us, sign up, subscribe, rate, comment, do all that stuff. All right, now we got a bunch of people, and I asked them, Jeff, I said, Internet, tell us your name, where you're from, and what your favorite episode of our 250 previous episodes were. Jeff, do people respond and respond in numbers?
Yes.
Then it's time to do your thing.
Great. I want to shout out Uchiwali Zerbiak, Mike Pride from Balch Springs, Texas, who love the Maul, Rory, and Eve from Dreamville podcast.
Shout out to him.
I want to shout out Derek from Rhode Island, who said his favorite episode is Everyone with Rude Jude. Now, Rude Jude has not been on any of our podcasts.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Skip XD from the Bronx, New York, and the episode with our mom.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Matt J from Australia and every Two Jews and Two Black Dudes episode.
Worldwide.
From every direction. I want to shout out Rob, Ugly New York, our guy from the
Bronx.
Forecast. Shout out to Rob, who loved the Sycamore and Uzi episodes. Some of his favorites, Will Geist from San Francisco, not Willie Geist.
Will Geist.
Who said the episode with 200 starring us.
Yeah.
DeMar Grant from Mississauga from Toronto.
All right.
Who said the Rory episode.
Up north.
Christian Gamara from Lima, Peru.
Shout out to Peru.
Who said he loved the intro to the Parks episode. Babito PK from Greensboro, North Carolina, who loved the Parks and Raven episode.
Shout out to him.
Aaron from Palmdale. I don't know where Palmdale is. Probably like
California?
California.
I'm going to say that.
Or Arizona,
maybe, yeah.
Who said he loved the Raven episode most, but also would love us to give a shout out to I Hate You All.
All right.
Shout out to Nell, also of the Forecast, a Bronx favorite.
Yeah.
Who said that the Fat Jew and Mac Miller episodes were great. Shout out to Trey from Naples, Italy, Napoli.
Yeah, Trey.
Who shouted out the Guap Dad episode. Dante from Patterson, New Jersey. Shout out to Jesus Marrow and Mac Miller and Parks. Shout out to Kia from Charlotte, North Carolina, who loved the Scotty Beam episode. The
Scotty Beam episode.
Scotty Beam.
You sound like Nardwar.
I mean, it's a lot of words I'm trying to do.
Scotty Beam.
He would do like, who are you?
Scotty Beam.
Scotty Beam.
No, he'd be like, Scotty? And she'd say, what?
Shout out to Jay from Columbia, I'm going to guess South Carolina, but it could be any Columbia, who loved the Bun B episode. Shout out to Ken from Baton Rouge and the Cardo Got Wings episode.
Yeah.
Also, Codename Rondo from Richmond, Virginia, who loved the Raven episodes with an S.
Multiple episodes.
Also, Joe Budden and the Megan Stallion episode, who said it was special because her mom was also on it.
Yeah.
Also, the Parks music episode.
Great
I feel like
episode.
the Parks episode is great, but I think there is a recency bias where a lot of people are like, I remember that one, it was recent.
Same
I
with
love it.
Raven? Yeah.
Shout out to Eddie Ray up in Boston. Shout out to his podcast, the Shots of E&J podcast, which is not us.
No. Close, but not.
Anyway, he does on Facebook Live. He said the Sycamore episode,
Great episode.
Inspirational AF, said from Greensboro, North Carolina, whose favorite episode is the Ron Funches one.
Great
Lalo
one.
Guzman, a.k.a. half Mexican, half amazing.
Shout out to Lalo.
From L.A., who shouted at us on the street that one time.
That was him.
That was him. Favorite episodes, Mac Miller, R.I.P., and Big Shaq, Michael Zappa. Tahani from Rochester, whose favorite episode is the most recent Raven one. She says they're friends in her head.
All right.
Zach Galt from New York City via Scarsdale.
Shout out to Westchester.
Yeah. His favorite episode is the Rory from the Joe Budden podcast. Also, shout out to the First Lady, Coco Rico from Lawton, Oklahoma, who said, don't judge.
No judgment. We love Oklahoma, and shout out to everyone down there. We want to do a show down there.
She loved the Parks and Mall episodes because she knew so little about them, yet was so curious. Angie from Virginia Beach. Shout out to the DJ NB, Angie Martinez, and Miss Info, and Mac Miller episodes. Todd, a.k.a. Mooney, a.k.a. You Know My People, a Portchester Ram, but really a Rye Country Day Wildcat, who's now in Bed-Stuy.
I'll just say this. Not a Harris Concert.
Yeah, no. Favorite episode is the Case-Lay episode. Ray from El Paso, Texas, who said his favorite episode is Psychic Sound.
Great episode.
Corey from Brazil.
Corey Towns from Brazil?
Corey Towns, who loved the Corey Towns episode.
Well, which one? Because he was on 2. He was on the Bridget Kelly one.
Yep.
And he was also on the Mouse Jones one.
Oh, right.
Shout out to Corey Towns.
He said he is the biggest Jeff and Eric fan in the world. Come to Brazil.
Come to Brazil.
Come to Brazil, all of my Brazilians. Shout out to Sean Lib up in Providence, who came back later and was like, Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. Not
Not Providence.
somewhere else. Not
Yeah.
the movie. Not the TV show. show.
He loved the Prime episode.
Great episode.
Aziz from Baltimore loved the JID and Six Flag.
Oh,
We have Six Flag on here.
but shout out to JID.
Gord's from UK, who said you already know. The Dirty Water podcast from Fayetteville, episode number 25, The Real Kiss. Shout out to,
That's the Jadakiss episode.
yes, Lair Stevens from Philadelphia, who said episode 250 with our mom.
Yeah.
Elsie from Chicago, the one with Eve.
Great episode.
Hey, Becca B. Hey, Becca B. Becca from St. Louis, who loved the Asher Roth episode.
Great episode. Go check that out. 10 years since Asleep in the Bread Aisle. Jeff, as always, or if you don't know us,
Yeah, you can go find us.
anywhere.
All it takes is 3 years of searching.
Not for real, for real.
Sure.
We'll see you guys next week.